Now, I've made it no secret that I'm really not happy with the Kurds for having sided with U.S. imperialism in the past, and then had a very terrible debate over it, etc. And then the United States pulled out, showing the Kurds that no, once again, even though you had already learned the lesson once before, you can't trust the United States or the imperialists, and it's frankly not even right to do so anyway. Well, now they've taken things a step further. Now that the United States has pulled out and then only sent troops back in to essentially take care of the oil resources in the country, which was the basis for U.S. support for the Kurds to begin with, to use them as a proxy force to steal the natural resources of Syria. Now that the U.S. basically isn't backing them up anymore and is cutting the pretext and just stealing the oil outright, the Kurds have now carried out talks with Saudi Arabia. As if it wasn't bad enough to simply ally with the U.S., now they want to ally with Saudi Arabia. A delegation from the Syrian Democratic Forces reportedly arrived in Saudi Arabia this week with officials in the capital city of Riyadh. Was reported by the Russian newspaper Novosti Mamaya, which was reported on Wednesday. A mission from the Syrian Democratic Forces consists mainly of Kurdish militias arrived in Saudi Arabia to negotiate the future of the northeast region of Syria, which is still under the control of these forces. If that wasn't bad enough, it's also been reported that an SDF delegation traveled to Riyadh independently with neither the Syrian government or any of the opposition present in that meeting. In other words, it was a straight-up collaboration between the Kurds and Saudi Arabia. I mean, this kind of just really blows my mind. I mean, they already did the wrong thing by allying with the United States and not with the Syrian government. But now they're going to make things even worse by allying with Saudi Arabia, who has been interfering in this whole conflict from the beginning. It has been Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the U.S. that have essentially been funding the opposition, and frankly, as we now know, have been funding ISIS as well. So now the Kurds have turned to Saudi Arabia to get, I'm not even sure what they would get out of this, diplomatic support, military support. Are the Kurds who are occupying these Arab lands going to say that now Saudi Arabia can come into the country and use their military to prevent the Syrian government from retaking its own land? I mean, that's probably where this situation is going. I mean, there's no other reason why you would side with Saudi Arabia in this case. This whole thing can be solved very simply by simply allying with the Syrian government, making some concessions, federalized state, all that stuff, and the whole problem can go away. But the Kurds simply will not do that. Once the U.S. pulled out, the Kurds started having negotiations and talks with the Syrian government. And now they've decided they're just going to go with Syria. Just go with Saudi Arabia. I mean, it boggles my mind why they would choose to do this. It's almost hardwired into them to ally with imperialism. And then I look at all these, I wouldn't even call them real anarchists, who are outright defending the Kurds on this. They made up excuses for the Kurds allying with the U.S. and letting the U.S. build an air base in their territory. And I want to see if they can justify this. If they can justify and how revolutionary it is to ally with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, next to the United States and Israel, is one of the biggest producers of terrorism in the entire world. If they are not, if not directly responsible for the creation of ISIS, Saudi royal money flows into them. Saudi Arabia has been found sending them weapons constantly, weapons that they sometimes get from the United States. I mean, it's as clear as day. So what is this? They're going to ally with Saudi Arabia and then maybe ISIS will back off on them or something? Because the ISIS paymasters will be looking the other way, will be paying them not to attack the Kurds. The Kurds have just taken this situation and made it a lot worse. And none of this needed to happen. There was a very simple, peaceful, a proper resolution that could have made everybody happy. It could have promoted peace and cooperation. But again, the Kurds are choosing not to do it. And it's on their heads what they choose to do. If they keep going down this road, they're going to end up suffering for it, and it's their own fault. It's not something I've said so many times before. It's I don't need to repeat myself here. But this, I am honestly blown away by this. Like, I did not expect them to do something like this, just to take the imperialism they were already helping and then making it worse. I thought with the withdrawal of U.S. forces, they'd have no choice but to reach an agreement with the Syrian government. And it seems like they've chosen to just refuse to do that and then ally with another imperialist power. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.